day. Such a beautiful day. Sun's glowing and the wind is blowing, and I hope it never goes away. Such a beautiful day. Life is so wonderful, so beautiful today. That's right. Now everybody throw your hands up high. We're gonna blow it up in the sky and celebrate. I wanna get up so high till I'm soaring through the sky, and I never want to come back down. It's a beautiful day I found. I wanna get up so high till I'm soaring through the sky, and I never want to come back down. Such a beautiful day. Why do I like it so?
Starting the cannabis conversation where it starts. Americans for Cannabis is a homegrown movement dedicated to promoting honest education about cannabis, hemp, or marijuana, however you want to refer to it, and the full repeal of cannabis prohibition. Our main goal is to provide evidence-based information to the citizens of America about the benefits of this untapped, renewable, sustainable, and once vital natural resource so they can make informed decisions on this complex issue. We, the people, demand that cannabis be exempted from the DEA's Controlled Substances Act, like alcohol, nicotine, caffeine, and other drugs, and all local civil, state, and federal criminal penalties be repealed and nullified, including penalties for cultivation, possession, transportation, distribution, sales, trade, sharing, possession, consumption, and use of cannabis for industrial, medicinal, nutritional, spiritual, and recreational purposes be repealed. Our motto is, let us not be the wedge that divides, but rather the glue that binds. Our mission is to educate our community on the true history and facts about cannabis, hemp, and marijuana, to promote the peaceful, responsible, and lawful use of cannabis, and a complete repeal of cannabis prohibition based on the concepts of freedom, liberty, self-ownership, and personal responsibility. We are here to promote and support the descheduling and exemption of cannabis from the DEA's Controlled Substances Act to prevent any new taxes for cannabis or cannabis-specific taxes, to promote and support the Freedom to Garden Act or a form of it, to reclaim and secure the rights of the people. Then we can talk about the privilege of commerce. We are here to promote and support the people's right to garden, all the natural rights of the earth, to promote and support state and federal nullification, to otherwise end all cannabis arrests and imprisonment for the use, consumption, and possession by peaceful, responsible, or otherwise lawful people. We are here to support and promote the release of our people from the prisons that bind them. We are here to expose the corruption in law enforcement and the building of a military police state made possible through prohibition. We are here to promote and support better, stronger, and healthier communities. We are here to promote and support freedom, self-ownership, liberty, and personal responsibility in general. Thank you. Cannabis can be ingested in various ways besides smoking. You can eat it and you can even drink it. Making cannabutter is easy, and one of the simplest methods is to use a crock pot. And there's only 3 ingredients needed: butter, water, and cannabis. For every pound of butter, you will need 2 cups of water and 1 ounce to 1.5 ounces of leaf bud material. Set the crock pot on low, cube the butter, then add it to the crock pot. While the butter is melting, crush your leaf bud material using a crusher grinder works best for large quantities. I didn't have one, so I had to improvise with a lot of crushing, a whole lot of crushing. Anyway, when the butter is melted, or at least partially, add the leaf bud material, stir it up, add the water, stir it, and cover it. Keep the crock pot on low. You don't want to boil the butter, as that will kill the THC. Unless you want medical, boil it all you want. Crock pots are great for maintaining a low, even temp. I usually let it simmer for about 8 hours or so while stirring occasionally. When it's ready, you strain the plant material, which is no good anymore. Just throw it away. Strain the butter into a big plastic container using a cheesecloth. That works great, but I didn't have one, so I had to improvise with the strainers, and I thought the small containers were cute, which turned out to be a pain and a big mess, but whatever. After everything is in the containers, put them in the fridge overnight. The butter will harden and the water will separate. The next day, take the containers out and flip them over and scrape the waste off. Do it over a bowl or sink. It's messy, and the separated water smells like bong water. This is why I said just use a big plastic container initially, then scrape off the waste. You can warm it up again and pour it into whatever containers you want and re-refrigerate or freeze them, which is what I should have did from the beginning. The finished butter can be used in any recipe that requires butter or oil, such as cupcakes and cakes. All right. Hi, I'm Kim.
I'm Nate.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right, we'll start over.
Sorry.
All right.
So it's Kim, and then me, and then you,
Yeah.
and then you gonna.
All right.
Okay, yeah.
All right. Hi, I'm Kim.
Hi, I'm Luis.
Hi, I'm Nate, and we're here today to brighten up your soul and your future.
Welcome to Capital District Cannabis in Albany, New York, 518.
And today we're here to tell you about the history of prohibition in America.
That's a fact.
Wonder why you going to jail for marijuana? We're about to tell you.
Bullshit.
You might want to grab the popcorn and roll up. I don't know if you
Sit
like
Get
back,
something to drink, smoke.
yeah,
Sit
joint,
back and chill.
blunt, rap.
Relax.
Either way, it's a rap, but light up.
We're about to blow your mind
Stay tuned in here, right here,
with the truth.
Albany.
Nothing but the truth.
Yes. So for all you ladies and all you men out there that's viewing, you might want to pay attention and inhale this good knowledge that Kim's about to break down.
Here we go. All right, let's drop it. All right. Well, hemp, cannabis, marijuana, it's all the same thing. It's just like there's different types of fruits and vegetables. You know, there's different types of weed. All varieties produce tough hemp fiber, which has a lot of industrial uses. You can make paper, fabric, rope, even construction like bricks, buildings out of
So my house
cannabis.
is made out of this?
Yeah, in Canada they
That's
have
official.
they have a lot of hempcrete they call it, and it's supposedly it's better than concrete. It's stronger, more durable.
Wow.
You know, they're making all kinds of stuff with that. You know, the Mayflower, you know, when the Pilgrims came over and took over America, you know, their sails were made out of cannabis.
Wow.
You know, as the settlers came in and they lived here and the colonists were in Virginia, King James I would make the settlers pay their taxes in cannabis. Like in order to come here, you had to grow weed.
Wow.
And supply it to King James I of England. It's facts.
That's
Nothing wrong
crazy.
with
So
that.
imagine there's a bunch of high pirates. They was going crazy. A bunch of high pirates. They was probably having sword fights over pounds.
Pretty
Who
much.
knows?
Some fucking buccaneer, Jack Sparrow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's some funny shit. Wow.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, some strains, you know, they produce more hemp seed, and you can use the hemp seed in food. It's very nutritious for you. It has all kinds of vitamins. You know, some strains produce a lot of THC, tetrahydrocannabinol. It's the psychoactive that triggers your high in marijuana, like the relaxation, and it produces the changes in your senses.
that's where we get the smiles from.
That's where we get the smiles
That's a
from.
fact.
Kool-Aid smile.
The
Yeah.
super smiles. Having a bad day, you just smoke a L, and you won't regret it.
Kool-Aid.
Oh yeah, and cheese and all that.
Yeah. Well, cannabis, it can be used as a medicine. You know, since the beginning of man, it has been used as a medicine. Right now, there's 23 medical marijuana states, something like that, and then New York is set to legalize medical marijuana in 2016. But, you know, we know all this stuff already. You know, what we don't know is how exactly weed became illegal, how pot smokers became criminals. You know, the usual claim is, you know, that there were 4 people that conspired to kill the hemp industry with something called the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937.
See, and we all know, even the viewers out there know, that it's, you know, it's like a real contradiction. It's like a real contradiction because they pitch it at us and who's they, society in general. You know what I mean? They make it seem like weed is such a bad thing, but in reality, they be smoking weed too.
And they got the smiles.
They just try to decorate us to be the bad guys. Now we ain't the bad guys. We all smoke. We go out and try to get along. You ain't gotta sing a song, but light your blunt up.
You know, we can look throughout history and we can see where they used weed. I'm not even going to say cannabis or hemp. I'm just going to call it either the reefer or weed. And they used weed to write the Constitution on. You know, they used weed to make all kinds of clothing. The first American flag Betsy Ross made was out of weed. So, you know, it's crazy. But the people that really conspired to get weed off the market as an industrial fiber, because it basically built America, and every other country used weed for all kinds of stuff, you know, their clothes, their shoes, everything, you know. But the people that really made it illegal that got together were William Randolph Hearst. He was, you know, they say that he had been heavily invested in the timber industry, and he owned all the newspapers and the presses, and that's where they made up all this reefer madness crap, and, you know, smoking weed made you crazy and a criminal. You know, the DuPont family, you know, they were a chemical company. They had just invented nylon and was allegedly afraid of competition from hemp fiber because, like we said earlier, you know, all the historic vessels were made out, you know, the ropes and stuff, the sails were made out of weed. You know, the USS Constitution, like, it's a historic Civil War battleship. It's still floating right now in a harbor. It's 85% made out of hemp, you know. And then we're going to look at these other two characters that were involved in this, and we're going to look at Andrew Lloyd Mellon. He was the Secretary of the Treasury, and he was the nation's richest man. He's also had significant investments in DuPont. He had his own bank, and it was called the Bank of Mellon, something like that. And he you know, he was the main financer for DuPont. And since they were making chemicals, let's get the alternative out of there, you know. And then we're going to look at Henry Anslinger. You know, he was the commissioner of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, and, you know, he helped draft the legislation, you know, to really protect all their industrial interests. And, you know, Andrew Lloyd Mellon, you know, not only was he all that, he was the founder of Gulf Oil Corporation, you know, and he really did know that cannabis is an alternative to industrial raw material, you know, for thousands of products, all kinds of stuff, including fuel and plastics. You know, Henry Ford made, when ethanol was created, they made it out of weed. Henry Ford made, you know, a car out of weed, and you can Google the video on YouTube. I should have got the permission for the video so we could show it real quick.
Made a car out of weed?
Yeah, but anybody could Google on YouTube Henry Ford's hemp car, you know, and you'll see the video of the car that they made out of weed. And like the steel, it's stronger than steel, and the dude's beating on it with a hammer. It's not even dented, you know.
That's insane.
Yeah, you know, it's all this crazy
That's
stuff.
Beautifully insane. That's official.
You know, and
so they're trying to hide the truth out there.
Yeah, you know, and if you really look at it, you know, 1 acre of hemp replaces 5 acres of forest, and you know, the trees are a natural resource, and it's all depleted.
So 1 acre of hemp.
You know, look at all you know, with the lumber and all that, you know, and this is the one plant that can, you know, can substitute for all that and make a better fiber. You know, but pretty much, you know, Mellon knew that weed, you know, could really compete in the free market, and if it was continued, it would threaten, you know, the products of the oil companies, because the same things you make out of oil is the same things you make out of plastics is the same thing you can make with weed. Anything, you know, the fuel, any of that stuff, you know. So this is really what happened, you know. And if it was kept as just a plant, you know, it would really threaten all the oil companies, you know. And then, you know, but imagine if it hadn't been, we wouldn't be having these big oil spills in the oceans, you know, and these nuclear power plants blowing up, because we already have what we need in order to replace, you know, these things.
Yeah.
Let's have
You
it
know.
for everyone. Let's war. Let's everything.
Yeah, but you know, as Mellon was the Secretary of Treasury, he created the Federal Bureau of Narcotics and recruited his future nephew-in-law, Harry Anslinger, as the director. The Federal Bureau of Narcotics is like the DEA right now, you know, the Drug Enforcement Agency, or whatever, you know, is the initial one agency that was created, you know. And Anslinger, you know, he later used, you know, the sensational and fabricated articles published by William Randolph Hearst, who, remember, he owned all the papers and the presses and the forests, and you know, those are the three guys, you know, the four that really pushed the Marijuana Tax Act through Congress, you know, and that really destroyed the cannabis industry. In 1937, when the Marijuana Tax Act criminalized cannabis, and the act was introduced through the side door of Congress by being sent to the House Ways and Means Committee, and the House Ways and Means Committee can send a bill directly to the floor without the debate of committees and introduce as law. So this bill, you know, to criminalize cannabis and take it off the market and put anybody that used it, touched it, you know, or had it in prison, you know, for crazy amounts of time, you know, this is, you know, how it really happened, you know. After the enactment, when, you know, there was an appeal. William G. Woodward, MD, he was the physician and the attorney for the American Medical Association. And what he said was the entire fabric of federal testimony was tabloid sensationalism. No real testimony had been heard, and that the Marijuana Tax Act was passed in ignorance and could possibly deny the world the potential medicine in marijuana. You know, so this is, you know, the AMA is saying that it should not have been criminalized. You know, this guy Woodward, he continued that the only reason that the AMA had not come out sooner was that he realized 2 days before the hearing that the plant Congress intended to outlaw was cannabis, the benign substance used in America to treat scores of illnesses for over 100 years. So he didn't even know that's what they were talking about, because they called it marijuana. That's marijuana with an H. You know, nobody used that word. It was like a racist term from Mexico. Nobody called marijuana, you know, nobody called cannabis. Cannabis was cannabis. You know, they sold it over to stores and the counter. You know, it was listed for all kinds of things. But then when faster acting things like aspirin and stuff came along, it started also pushing the marijuana market away. But in 1938, the New York City Mayor LaGuardia, you know, he requested that the New York Academy of Medicine conduct an investigation on marijuana. The report got finished in '44. It was called the marijuana problem in the city of New York, but commonly referred to as the LaGuardia report. It concluded that many claims about the dangers of marijuana are exaggerated or untrue. So now they're going back, they're saying this was made illegal. Let's look at it. All right, it shouldn't be illegal. Let's not keep it, you know, let's repeal this law and turn it back into its natural lawful status and not legalized, but make it lawful, which is a big difference. And then, you know, this is in 1944. Now, they're still not doing anything about it. We have World War II, all this stuff going on. You know, after all this, in '68, the University of Mississippi got a registration from the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency. The one that Anslinger had originally created was now known as the DEA, and you know, they got the license in order to grow marijuana for government use and research, and only DEA registered growers of marijuana. The University of Mississippi supplies cannabis to researchers for studies ranging from chemical research to preclinical toxicology in animals to clinical work on humans. So now we're looking at, since 1968, the federal government has been testing marijuana as a medicine. They've been giving it out to people. There's still people that are still enrolled in this program that receive a big can of like 100 joints a month from the government,
Yeah.
you know?
That's like a shit problem.
Yeah, you know, but when they afterwards, this is still going on, they're still testing, you know, they're still using it for medical research, and now the Controlled Substances Act gets passed. It was passed by Congress as the Comprehensive Drug Abuse Prevention and Control Act of 1970. The National Commission on Marijuana and Drug Abuse was created by the Controlled Substances Act to study marijuana abuse in the United States. In 1970, the Assistant Secretary of Health had recommended that marijuana be placed on Schedule I pending the commissioner's report. A Schedule I drug says that it has no medical value, none, and it's highly addictive. You know, like I believe heroin is a Schedule I drug, I think. You know, hardcore drugs like that, you know, are listed as a Schedule I drug. So they put weed temporarily on a Schedule I drug. In '72, the commission came back. The commission's chairman was Raymond P. Schaefer. The report they presented to Congress was entitled Marijuana, a Signal of Misunderstanding. It favored ending marijuana prohibition and adopting other methods to discourage use. This commission report acknowledged that decades earlier, the absence of adequate understanding of the effects of the drug combined with lurid accounts of largely unsubstantiated marijuana atrocities greatly affected public opinion and labeled the stereotypical user as physically aggressive, lacking in self-control, irresponsible, mentally ill, and perhaps most alarming, criminally inclined and dangerous. So they're saying that none of this stuff was ever true, and this is just government propaganda, and that all it really is good for is keeping people locked up, you know, for no apparent reason. The commission found that the drug typically inhibited aggression by pacifying the user and generally produced states of drowsiness, lethargy, timidity, and passivity, what we like to call the smiles. You know what I'm saying? We give you the smiles. It doesn't give you any of the bad things that the government has always said it